just with regards to managing your product and your pictures, and which, let's be honest, your key asset, aside from your time and your skill, are the photos. So how do you manage those products? How do you store them? What about infringement of rights and all that sort of stuff? Can you just give me a bit of a sense of what you encounter in the wedding photography game?
Sure. Like I said, when I started out, I was film. So storing those files are very different than the files digitally. Having the hard copy, and you're building up loads and loads of that to now everything's on the computer. I remember one of the first weddings I shot digitally, and I lost, my computer died.
Oh, nice.
And I was cursing digital, and I was like, oh my God, if it was film, I would have it. So it's been a huge learning curve going through to figure out how to do everything, because that's your negative. And so you really got to hold on to that. So after a wedding, I'll go home and I'll download all the images, give it a file name to the couple, the year I shot, like all that stuff in the detail. And I then have a hard drive that will back it up twice.
Yeah. Cool.
So before you do anything like that, you're just kind of getting it in there, and then you're making sure you have multiple backups for that. And then for organization, it's kind of, I go by when I shot it and the couple's name. And like a lot of contracts, I think it's 3 to 5 years. We'll hold on to it for you.
Yep.
And then, so after that, it's kind of like going through to try to get rid of, weddings that you shot 10 years ago or whatnot, just to keep the flow so you're not over inundated with excess work, unless you really loved a certain wedding and you're going to hold little snippets from it. But so filing for that, that's kind of what I do. Categorizing by name, just making sure you're organized that way so you can find it easily. Because I've had people come back to me 3 years later, hey, I can't find this, or I lost this. Do you happen to still have it? And you're like, oh, curses. Let me see. So it does happen. It's a rarity, but it does happen. With that, that's pretty much, what was the rest of that question? I feel like was one more little, did I get it?
No. Actually, just one question though. You were talking about hanging on to those files for 3 to 5 years. So do you use the cloud at all for that, or is that all just hard drive?
I don't do anything on the cloud. I don't trust the cloud.
Yeah.
So I keep it on my own personal hard drives. So some people do the cloud. I'm not. So for me, technology-wise, I'm old school, and technology is still kind of like, I'm unsure about it and not entirely trusting. I think it's a great tool, but so for that, I just do all portable personal hard drives. I don't do anything on the cloud.
Yeah, no, that's just curiosity. No, that's how you are.
That's just me. So some more techie, advanced people probably do, but I'm not one of them.
Takes all sorts.
There you go.
I guess the second part of the question is just around sort of, images that might pop up in weird and wonderful places that you've shot and you're not being credited for. Like, does that happen very often at all, and how do you manage that? Do you manage that?
Right. Well, it hasn't happened. Like I said, occasionally, every once in a while, when you Google and you'll see a random thing, every once in a while, I'll see an image of mine, and 99% of the time, pretty sure it's because it's been dragged and dropped off my website. Okay. That would be my guess. But depending on what it's for, sometimes I don't think it's going to go very far. I don't think they're making money off of it per se.
Yeah.
So I think depending on how threatened I feel by it, like if I continuously saw one of my pieces out there and stuff going down, I'd probably pursue it more and going after them legally. But sometimes I just feel like there's so much stuff nowadays with technology that people are just like, if they're putting your image on Pinterest, is that considered thievery or advertisement?
Yeah.
So to me, I always kind of look at the latter of the two, being like, hey, like, if I can get and I think that's just it right there. If my name was connected to the photo, I probably wouldn't mind as much, or if somebody else is claiming it as their own. I think that's when you're looking at stuff and you're seeing your stuff out there, I think it's all dependent on to how far you're going to advance it legally to pursue somebody stealing your work. So I haven't had it totally stolen, claimed, or somebody was calling it their own work. I think it was just like, hey, I like this image. And so I was just like, okay, that's cool. Like, nobody knows it's mine, but I know it's mine.
Most people just don't understand that when you do take that image and you use it, it just never crosses their mind that's infringing on intellectual property. Like there's no rarely is there any malice in there, or rarely is there any untoward. It's just a general lack of, I think probably because it's so easy, people just go, well, if it's that easy, it must be cool.
Right.
So,
well, I think because it's so easy to obtain somebody else's work, and people who, if you don't do it, if you're not the creator of it, like that guy shooting the houses, the virtual, building that catalog, he knows how much work it took to make that. And other people are just like, oh, I'm just going to grab it and use it. It probably was nothing. And so they're not realizing how much work we put into it to make it. So, yeah, and I think because it is so easy today to just take stuff off, I call it off the line.